when you have young parents, you listen to like, and music is big for my parents. So growing up, when I think back to when I was 4, okay, the truth is, of course, I listened to Sharon Lois and Bram and that kind of age-appropriate stuff. But the things that I do remember, coming up all the time in our apartment was things like Iggy Pop, Talking Heads, Kid Creole and the Coconuts. My parents are a huge fan of Kid Creole. And so that is music that I remember from when I was a child. I remember when we would go see fireworks for Canada Day, I would sing Bang Bang, I Got Mine or Burning Down the House, which, I don't know, I guess that's insufferable to hear like a 4-year-old doing that or a 35-year-old telling this story now, but here's how cool I was. The first tape I had would have been the Beach Boys, and it was Endless Summer, which I think is just is that a compilation?
It's a compilation.
Yeah.
Of hugely successful compilation.
That was an album that was a tape I played to death. And part of that was probably because of Teen Wolf, because Surfin' USA is in Teen Wolf, and that is a movie I was definitely obsessed with as a 4-year-old, because it was very weird. So my parents got tickets to see the Beach Boys at Kingswood Music Theater when I was, let's say it was between 87 and 88, I'm not sure. And John Stamos was playing drums for some of this tour. And so they tell me now, like, I do remember that show. I don't remember being totally impressed. And my parents tell me, like, I just didn't get the concept of, here's this tape you listen to, here's Surfin' USA, and here's this movie, and there they are on stage. This is all related. I just didn't really understand what was going on. But they must have, been like, oh, this will blow Laura's mind, how exciting. And I'm just like, Sloop John B, when I did this research trip through Texas, and it was by myself, and I remember hearing it in a store in Austin, and it was funny because this was towards the beginning of the trip, and it was at a point where I was living alone in LA, and my partner was back here, and I missed him a lot. He wasn't able to come for this because it was this small. I was on a short-term work contract. It was about 9 months. I knew there was no chance of working in the States, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to continue my career in the States, so it just made sense that Matt stayed home. But I remember hearing that song, that I want to go home back in Austin. Just like, oh yeah, I'm sort of a little tired of this. And it's funny how, because I hadn't heard Sloop John B in years. It's like, I think probably the last time I had heard it would have been through Forrest Gump. And I know it was on that soundtrack, and there's a part where it plays in Vietnam. And I think at that point I just been, this phase in my life with the Beach Boys is, it's over. This time has passed. But it'd been 15, 20 years since I'd heard that song, and it was just, forgot what a pretty song this is. And then there's that, you can see there was like a promotional film they made for it where they're all playing in a pool and they're doing these choreographed moves, and it's so corny, but so kind of earnest at the same time. I think you could ask me this question every day over the next few weeks or the next few years, and I'd probably always give you a different answer. But what I'm going to say now, it feels like a neutral choice, but with history, which would be Brian Wilson's Smile. Because there's something, it's a beautiful album. It's absurd, but it's beautiful. But it's an album that I have connections to because, okay, so there's the Beach Boy connection, there's that sort of enduring thing, but Brian Wilson is something I discovered, Brian Wilson's Smile is something I discovered by myself, did not grow up listening to, but has these attachments. And the first time I heard the entirety of Smile was when I was living alone in LA. And it was just such a, a cool, unique album of, that, like all of the songs and just all of it. So I think, there's something kind of neutral about picking something. I discovered this myself, and now I'm, whatever's going to happen is just me alone. And there isn't, the history that's connected to it is just me, even though it's related to my parents or it's related to Matt. I don't know. It depends. It's like, do you want to go off on your deathbed, like wailing and sobbing and screaming, I don't want to leave you? Or, is it just sort of, is this a nice orchestral, lyrical progression that won't make me weep or sob? I listen to a lot of what, I still like the Talking Heads. you know, if my hero in this, it would be David Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first tape that I bought with my own money, and it was at a garage sale, it was definitely Remain in Light. And I think it was 25 cents, which was thrilling. And I was grade 4. I was in grade 4. And I definitely bought it for Once in a Lifetime, which was a song I knew. But it was one of those tapes that I could just put on and listen to the entirety of it without, you know, fast forwarding of like, oh my gosh, I hate this song.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been like a handful of albums that I can, you know, just play. And it feels like this is a whole experience from, you know, track 1, side 1 to track 2, side 2, final song. So Remain in Light for me in grade 4 was one of those albums. And I loved Houses in Motion, The Great Curve, the entire thing.
Mm.
And so Talking Heads was always an enduring band for me. And so this year, my partner Matt, he surprised me with tickets for David Byrne's show. And it was incredible because, you know, it was not a gift that I was expecting. And Matt definitely knew about Talking Heads, but it's a band that we've sort of shared together where, you know, if we're just having a night in, we'll watch Stop Making Sense or something. And so it's just been this nice piece that, you know, my parents introduced me and then now I introduced to Matt and we share this thing together. So he bought me tickets for the show. And I remember that day at work, I passed by a friend of mine and she was like, oh, you look nice today. I was like, well, guess what? I'm going to see David Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
Matt got me tickets for this concert. Isn't that amazing? And so she's like, oh, yeah, that's great. And we get it back and forth. And then a couple of hours later, I get a text from, and this is Lexi. And she's like, David Byrne is at work. David Byrne is in the gallery. And I've had a few instances. I'm not starstruck, although I do make an ass of myself. I don't want to fall into that, you know, celebrity culture. But there's been a few times where I have encountered people at work. And it's like, I guess it's one of the interesting things about I work at a tourist site. You know, it does this and this and this. But I remember when it used to be my job to interview people as they were leaving the gallery. And I, you know, went up to someone, started my spiel, and then realized I was talking to Lawrence Fishburne and just felt like such an idiot. So Lexi tells me that David Byrne's in the gallery. And I'm like, I can't not do anything. I can't be inappropriate, but I can't not at least just take a walk through the galleries and see what happens. So I come down the staircase and enter into the McLean Center. He's right there. He's right there. And it becomes this thing where I'm like, what do I do? I don't want to be an idiot. But also, you know, this man who's created so much music that, you know, I've listened to, that my parents have listened to. Like, there's just this might be my moment. Oh my gosh. So I kind of sidle up and I go, excuse me, I'm so sorry to do this, but I'm a huge fan of your work and I'm going to see your show today. And this is so, and then it gets worse. I go, this is so strange because you're actually in an exhibition I worked on. Telling him this and I'm feeling like such an idiot. And he's very nice. He's like, oh, hi, my name's David. I'm like, I know. And I think it was one of those moments where I was like, I am in danger of just not stopping talking because this is such a moment for me. This is musical hero, writing hero, everything hero. And I like at a certain point you have to play it cool and just sort of let it go. But then also, you know, okay, is there something, you know, can I just have a little moment? Is that okay? Is this not, you know, obtrusive? And so it was amazing. So he very kindly took a photo with me. And I texted to my mom and my dad. And my dad immediately texts back, WTF, is that DB? I was like, yeah, he came to work today. And so when we saw the show, it was hands down one of the best concerts that I've been to. Mm. And then he played a lot of Head songs too. And at that point he went from, I think it was Burning Down the House and then to This Must Be the Place. And so there was just something about that whole atmosphere of people together. And then everybody in the auditorium was singing along to This Must Be the Place. And I was just thinking of all the times Matt and I have heard that song and we call it the gift song because it's like, oh, it's the gift song. It comes on the radio. It's a gift. And it was one of the few times, and this is like so goofy, but it's like one of the few times I've just been caught up in the moment. And it was just like, oh, here we are all together. We're all having a moment. We're all singing this song. And it was just really cool. So, I guess that's my teen idol moment. All come true, but in a different way. And then after the show, I texted my parents and I was like, thanks for playing good music when I was a kid. I just saw the show and it was amazing. And thank you so much. And I just can't even blah, 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 just on and on. Dad goes, no problem.